They move it to Miller. JT Miller with a slap pass. Rebound off the outside and they score! It's Brock Besser.
DK Metcalf, he's got it. Touchdown! Seahawks!
Launches one. Deep left field and gone.
Curry slammed on the brakes. Oh my goodness! Curry!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Live for Sports. My name is Nathan, joined once again, as always, by Joseph.
Hello there.
We got a lot to go. Yeah, we got a full episode to go over, I guess. We're going to start with our NHL division previews today. We got our rankings done. We're going to start in the Central we agreed on, right?
Yes.
Today, yeah. Saving the Pacific for last because I'm sure that's going to be the most heated one. Or just, I like these start teams. I'd rather leave last. Then we're going to go over to the NFL recap week 1, some of those games. Maybe do a Thursday night preview because it might be interesting. And then we will go to the MLB and talk about the recent Bichette news as well as the Jays played today, and John Gibbons was back in town as the Mets manager, talk about his legacy a little bit. And then we will go to the NBA, Jamal Murray getting his Supermax contract. But before that happens, Joseph, how was the week?
Pretty good, Nathan. Got another job, making cash, making some money. So now I'm rocking 3 jobs like I'm a single mother, but it's going well.
Is this the job you told me about before?
The SFU one? I
Yeah,
can't remember if I told you that. Yeah.
Yeah, you
so
told
I
me
got that. Okay, yeah. So yeah, working another job. I did my first Port Moody game. That was kind of fun. And with my boy Zach.
I saw the Twitter account and I was like, it was all Zach's calls, and I'm like, where's Joseph, man? I want to hear his call.
I know. I think they just wanted to get the goals, make it quick and snappy.
Yeah, I was hoping to. I don't know. You gotta like clip it one time and send it to me.
Well, what they do is I like it, but there's no booth, so we're in the stands and we have to make like cones to separate ourselves from the people.
Mhm.
So what Zach usually does with Poco is, since he's in the booth, he sets his phone up, and that way he can record him and Liam and then post it. There's no opportunity to do that.
You need like a tripod. You need like a tripod to do that, probably.
Yeah, something along those lines. But we need room for the camera guy who's like literally right in front of us. So
yeah, so maybe it's a little tough. Yeah, no, I saw the Twitter account and I'm like, or I think it was the Instagram. I think no, it was on Twitter. It was definitely on Twitter, and it's like just all Zach's calls. I'm like, man, I wanted to hear Joseph after too. Like Zach's good on the call.
I
So
know.
I'll give him that.
I had some expert analysis, Nathan. You should.
Oh no.
Should have heard me. Bit of a genius, if I do say so myself.
Okay. Relax, Bell. All right. Yeah, we're good to get into the Central Division.
Yes, but as part of the Central, can we do a quick Arizona Coyotes eulogy?
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Since the Utah Hockey Club, soon to be, in my hopeful opinion, I'd like them to be the Utah Outlaws because it rolls and it's cool as hell.
It's gonna
probably
be the
Yeti.
Yeti. It should be Yetis, but it's gonna be Yeti.
I don't mind Yeti. Yeti's fine. Could be worse, but Utah Outlaws, you can't tell me that ain't cool as hell.
I actually I think when they were doing their polls and stuff, I actually saw Outlaws and I'm like, that could work. I like that.
Yeah,
But
it's one of
I do like the Yeti though, because Yeti versus Avalanche, like their cross state, like I think that's cool.
or even Blizzard.
That's the too similar to Avalanche, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, the Arizona Coyotes finally are no more, having moved to Utah, probably 15 years overdue. I think you could say the Coyotes moved to Arizona in 1996, were never financially viable, leaving Winnipeg, never had a proper arena, never had a proper established fan base. They have their group of diehard fans that supported teams, but even when they were in an NHL size arena, they very rarely ever sold out. Financial troubles from day one, never profitable, and for the past 2 years in Mullet Arena, it was a joke. A joke playing in a 4,600 seat arena. Finally, after the Tempe resolution was shut down to build a new arena by the taxpayers, Gary Bettman finally came to his senses and pulled the plug. I never thought I'd see the day, given how much Gary Bettman loves or loved the Arizona market and Coyotes,
Still
and they're
does.
gone. Yeah, well, Nathan, remember Alex Morello, he pulled the plug. He's done. He's not involved. He
Oh,
failed again. He failed again to get an arena built there. This time it's going to be north end of Phoenix. He screwed up the permits. The town council was like, "Yeah, we're not working with you," and now he's gone.
mm,
So he's out. And if he had stayed, he had a 5-year window to build the team. Otherwise, he would have lost the rights. He didn't even make it 6 months. So
no,
he's gone.
it was not. He didn't even make it 3 months.
Yeah.
It was like mid-April. It got in, like right at the end of the year, so mid-April. And then the bid was the 27th of June, I believe.
Yeah.
And
And they're
he
done.
dropped out like 5 days before it or something because he screwed up the
Yeah.
permits.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they basically told him to fuck off.
I think we did talk about them a
It's
little bit.
finally,
Go ahead, Never
yeah, just to make it brief, it's a new era. Utah has a bright new owner, Ryan Smith, he's young, he's rich, he's pretty progressive in his ability to get stuff done. He's not a whiny old man like Merlo was, and they have a somewhat proper building. I know the Delta Center in Utah, but Utah isn't perfect for hockey. I think it's got like 14,000 good seats and then like 2,000 mediocre seats. But they're going to renovate the building probably in the off season, and then they're going to be fine. So time to move on. Goodbye, Coyotes. Maybe we'll see you again in 10 years with Atlanta. Well, that'd be funny if the Coyotes and Thrashers came back. But
I know we touched on them right before we went on like hiatus the first time, or I guess the last time. The Coyote situation because it was right as they moved, but we didn't touch on like the aftermath and thought stuff. I doubt like Morello. Yes, it's good he's gone. I still think Arizona's getting a hockey team eventually. I still think they're coming back 100%. Gary loves the market too much, and there is too much untapped potential in the market, and they've produced NHL talent. They should come back. They need
they will
proper
come
ownership.
back. The
They
thing
need proper
is,
ownership.
is it going to be within Bettman's tenure as commissioner? Because I think he's 70, and I think they're 10 years away minimum because they don't have a
Yeah.
building. Takes
But maybe
3 years.
Bill Daly's probably going to be commissioner right after though,
Yes,
and I'm
yes,
sure he'll
but
probably be like, "Oh, let's go back
it's
to Arizona."
10 years minimum because you need an owner with money. You need to start a building from scratch. You need to go through all the political headaches. You need to break ground, yada, 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 yada. And then the expansion process. So 10 years minimum. Like Atlanta has a building. It's just not a very good building. They could be back in 2 years if they
Well,
really
they're
wanted to
trying to
be.
build a new one that's in
Yes.
Atlanta, and
But they could come back next year, be in that building for like 2 years while the building's ready. If Arizona had, if the Suns would have let the Coyotes in their building, they still would have been there
yeah, agreed.
temporarily.
Are the Hawks moving into that new building in Atlanta? Is that the plan?
Not that I know of. I don't, well, I think if it was built, they would, but they're not in any dire need to move buildings from what I
Okay.
know. Because they're fine. They sell it every
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, Murillo was like the worst owner in sports, one of them. Him and like Dave Tepper are up there of the Panthers, Carolina.
Yeah, and Eugene Melnick in his day.
Yeah, but anyways, Central Division preview. We'll go 8-1. I think you do your eight. Here you do your like number eight. I do my number eight. We'll go back and forth, alternate. See how this goes.
Yep. You
I
want it
think
first, Nathan, or me?
you usually go first in these. I think our number eight should be both pretty unanimous though here.
Okay, beauty before youth.
Oh,
All right. So eighth place. I don't think this is very surprising to anybody, but I have the Chicago Blackhawks. Connor Bedard is on the up and up. I expect him to continue to be very good as I get my daily face-off line combinations up in just a second. Yeah, Connor Bedard, he had a really strong first season in the NHL. Cut short a little bit due to injury, but when he played, he was great. He had a lousy supporting cast. Literally, his best player, the next best forward, at least on the team, was Philip Kurashev. They augmented their core. They got Tyler Bertuzzi, now Teuvo Teravainen, who I'm a big fan of. Nick Foligno's back. Mikheyev should be better than he was in Vancouver. I think his knee's healthy now. Taylor Hall is returning from surgery, and I'm expecting a step forward from Lucas Reichel. In terms of defense, Alex Vlasic's one of the more underrated players in the league. He's got a good pairing with Seth Jones, who's kind of got Darnell Nurse syndrome, where he's an objectively good defender, just overpaid. And Kevin Korchinski is going to be a strong player in the future. He just needs time. And they brought in TJ Brody and Alec Martinez for depth. The issue with them is their goaltending. Peter Mrazek is not an starting goalkeeper anymore. In my opinion, they brought Laurent Brossoit in behind him. He's a quality backup. He's always done well in Winnipeg and Vegas, supplanting their star goalies. So maybe by midseason he'll be the starter. In fact, that's going to be my official prediction. Mrazek will be injured like he always is, and Brossoit will be starter. He'll have like a 905 save percentage, nothing special. But to conclude, the Blackhawks are a team on the rise, but they're still 2-3 years away from legitimate contention. Connor Bedard, this is the year he hits 40 goals, 80 something points, because there still isn't a ton of support around him. But they will finish in 8th for one more year. Next season will be the year where we can expect some real progress in the standings.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I have him in 8th. I actually like a lot of their additions. Like Teravainen, I really like. I think if you play on a line with Bedard, that's actually a really good fit because he is weirdly an analytical darling when it comes to defensive metrics, which I didn't think would be possible. And plus, keep in mind he's in a reunion piece because he was technically there in 2015. He didn't play much, but he was there. He got a couple games in the finals, I believe, in 2015 for that team.
Who's this? Sorry, who's this, Nathan?
Teravainen.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Bertuzzi, I like the pickup there too. Kind of like a skill grit kind of guy. Go protect Bedard when he needs to.
You know who he reminds me of quickly? Remember when Patrick Maroon was good when he was in Edmonton?
Yeah,
Where he could score, like he scored 27 goals with McDavid. He could be that player for Bedard because he's legitimately skilled.
I don't know. I just really like actually what Kyle Davidson's doing as GM. Like he's just bringing all these like vets on like short term, a little bit pricey deals, but it's just mainly just to get them to the salary floor. And it kind of, these guys are mentoring all the youth. Their defense still is pretty suspect. I don't know. Korchinski, I don't know if I'm convinced on Korchinski being a number 1 or necessarily a top pair guy. I think a 3 maybe is more legit in the future because I do think he's going to have his flaws defensively. I think he's going to be pretty offensive. And Vlasic, you did touch on, I really like too. Lev Shunov, I believe, is hurt from what I hear. I don't think it's that serious. Like he's not taking part in their rookie camp though. And plus, I don't expect him to be in the NHL to start the year anyways. I think they'll put him in the minors for at least a little bit.
Yeah, because he's coming out of college. So they would take Silyev second or Demidov. I think it's a really big missed opportunity not taking Demidov second because they don't really have any huge forward prospects coming up. I mean, they have Nazar and he's good. And they have Reichel who's got potential, but
Oliver Moore.
Yeah, but all of those guys are centers. They don't have any wingers. Well, Reichel's a winger, but he's probably a second liner at best.
Probably a lot easier to go out and pay a winger money in free agency though than it is to pay a center. Keep in mind.
Yeah.
Too. But yeah, their goaltending sucks still. They need one more year. Go get another high pick. I don't think they'll be basement. They'll be basement, but I think they'll be more like a pick 3 to 6 range maybe. I could see for them this year. Go get one more guy. Get ready. Take your mini step next year. Take your playoff step the year after. Unless Bedard is that good. And honestly, you said Bedard is going to score 40 and put up like 80 points. I think he's putting up 45 and 45. That's my take.
Yep, I could see that.
Technical difficulties, but number 7 in the Central since we both have Blackhawks at 8.
This is kind of interesting because the Central has one bad team, then everyone else is like mid with 2 good teams.
It's very similar to the Metro, I feel like. And even the Atlantic a little bit, it has comparisons too.
Yeah, it's like odd because there's like 4 different teams who could be 7th. But I'm going to go with, as I go back here so I can pull up their depth chart in just a second. Why are you being so slow? I'm going to go with the St. Louis Blues, 7th in the Central Division. I think their window has slammed shut. They got lots of good players. Vucinovic is really good. Thomas is really good. Kairu's really good. Braden Shen can still play. Jake Neighbors has a bright future. I like their Holloway and Broberg acquisitions, even though I don't know how ready Broberg is to be on the second pair with Justin Falk. But yeah, I think Holloway's got a bright future. Their defense is kind of weak. Nick Leddy's kind of washed, and Colton Parayko is overrated. They're playing Ryan Suter in the year 2024, so I don't expect that to go very well.
Can I cut you off quick?
Yeah.
So you just said you're not sure about Broberg being ready to play the second pair with Falk, yet you're sure
With
he's
Falk.
ready to. Yep, yet you're sure he's ready to play second pair in Edmonton on a cup contender with Darnell Nurse. You have said that before to me, and I know
Hey,
you have.
the Oilers don't need a great second pairing to carry them into the playoffs. They can get by with a mediocre defense. The St. Louis Blues cannot get by with a mediocre defense.
Okay.
Anyways, as I was saying, I'm objectively right about this, Nathan, is Ryan Suter is done. He's cooked. The only player I think in history to be bought out twice. He looked horrible for Dallas the last 2 playoff runs, and now he's playing in St. Louis. That's a mistake. Even though
Guy
I
loves
like
his central teams. He loves his central teams.
I know. Torrey
Lives-
Krug is out for the year. He's nothing special anymore. He's not Boston Bruins Torrey Krug, but they'll still feel his loss. I don't have the faintest clue of what Jordan Binnington's going to do, even though I like Jordan Binnington. He's kind of like Dylan Brooks. I like what he brings. Every league needs a Dylan Brooks, Jordan Binnington type to stir the pot a little bit. But I don't know what he's going to bring. He could be 915 save percentage. He could be 890. There is very little in between with him.
I think 890 is a little drastic. I'd say maybe like
895.
high 890, high 890s, I would say. But
yeah, I just don't expect them to be their window shut. They fired Berube. They have Drew Bannister, who was okay as their interim coach, and then they brought him back. So they're not competing for cups. I could see them sneaking into the playoffs if all goes right. But in this mushy Central Division, you're going to have to be better than Minnesota. And Minnesota has Kaprizov, who's better than any of their players. And Philip Gustafson could go off again. Maybe Fleury in his swan song does well, but I just don't think St. Louis is anything special this year. And they're going to be stuck in the mushy middle for a while. And that's not where you want to be if you're a team. You don't want to be in the mushy middle. You want to be really good or really bad, not in the middle.
Never want to be in the middle. I also have St. Louis at 7. Where's Holloway playing? Just curious. On their
third line, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that checks
Third
out.
line left, but they have Sod over him. So, and I think he'll pass Sod by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I'm curious to see how Broberg and Holloway do in those expanded roles, you could say, because Holloway is playing third, maybe fourth line in Edmonton, maybe, just maybe.
Now, by the end of the
Broberg
playoffs, quickly, he was playing with Draisaitl.
Yes,
for a
he
lot
was.
of points in the
But
playoffs.
now I'm saying this year you got Skinner, you got Arvidsson. They're gonna play with Draisaitl, I would assume. So he's got an expanded role now. It's kind of like, all right, you left for a reason. You want to prove yourself. I think, like, go prove it then. Same as Broberg. I don't like paying him $4 million, or what is it, 4.8 ish? I believe, right?
Yeah.
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 So I don't like paying that right away for the future. Maybe next year he's going to be worth that, but he's probably going to struggle at first. The rest of their decor is pretty mid, if you ask me. It's got like some pieces, but there's no number 1. They're all kind of like a number 3 or a number 4 on their defensive. I would say at this point, like Falk's getting pretty up there in age. Parayko's pretty slow and old. Doesn't really have much offensive upside, in my opinion.
Maybe the most overrated defenseman in the league.
I wouldn't say he's overrated anymore. That's just he's overpaid now. I feel like that's more what it is.
Yeah.
And he's on a bad contract. But you also say he's overrated because, and I know your reasoning, it's because he's tall and he's right-handed.
I know. I could literally say that for so many people, Nathan, the way hockey is now. Maybe I just missed it. But growing up, I never heard about handedness once. You know, the first time I heard handedness be brought up in like any discussion in hockey, it was when Jake Muzzin was traded to the Leafs, And Mike Babcock went on the air the next day and whined that he was left-handed because he couldn't play him with Morgan Riley because Morgan Riley's left-handed. That's the first time genuinely. I think that was 2019 or 20. So I was like,
2019.
yes, I was 18 years old. That was the first time I ever heard. So
Might have been
like,
2018 actually. Now that I think about it, it's either one of those two, 18 or 19, because they played the Bruins
I
both
think it
years.
was early. I think it was early 19, if I'm not mistaken. So I was
Yeah.
18.
Yeah.
So like I don't remember it ever being a thing, and now it's part of every hockey discussion I have. It feels like.
I don't know. That kind of wraps up all my Blues stuff. I'm higher on Binnington too. I feel like than most, but he's we'll see how he does now. I don't know. I'm thinking no playoffs. So their window is, you hit on it perfectly. Their window's closed, 100%. And they're in the middle. You don't want to be in the middle. You got to pick a direction. And I think they're kind of stuck waiting on a couple contracts to be a little more team friendly and stuff before they can pick that direction they want to go. So for now, they're kind of like, oh, we're gonna push for the playoffs, but we can't really.
Yeah, they're holding on. They're kind of in the same, not quite the same as Boston, because Boston's is better, but the window's closing fast.
Yep.
If
Well,
not already
it's
closed.
closed. It's closed for St. Louis. I don't think it's fully closed for Boston yet, but it's closed for St. Louis. Number 6.
This is interesting because, again, 6, that could be a whole bunch of teams. I'm gonna go with Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota. Basically, I hesitate to call anybody a one-player team, but when you're Minnesota and it's Kaprizov is just so much better than everybody else, they really cannot afford for him ever to get injured. Even though they have other good players like Matt Boldy's really good, Zuccarello has his moments, Joel Eriksson Ek has been one of the more underrated players in hockey past 5, 6 years. They have no depth. Like, listen to this bottom 6, Nathan. Marcus Foligno, Marat Kutsendinov, never heard of that guy in my life. Ryan Hartman, mediocre. Jacob Lauko, he was a Bruin, I'm pretty sure. Frederick Goudreau, and Yakov Trenin. And Marcus Johansson's on their second line. Their depth is horrible. Their defense is decent, but Spurgeon's injured. They're still playing Zach Bogosian. Like, that's another Ryan Suter situation where it's way past their expiry date.
What Bogo for Norris did.
Well, 2018 called. I wanted to joke back. Like, geez. Like, and goal there. This might be one of the most volatile goaltending positions in the league. Because 2 years ago, Philip Gustafson was awesome. He was one of the breakout players. He was great. He had like a 920 save percentage. And last year he was shit. So is he going to be good? This is Fleury's last season, and while we all agree he isn't elite anymore, he can still be good. I just don't expect him to be that good, especially behind a pretty mediocre defense. Like, they're just mid. They're the Minnesota Wild. That's what I'm going to call them this year. The
I feel like
Minnesota Wild.
that probably checks out for like their entire franchise history, Minnesota.
Well, it's funny because you can argue Minnesota has the best American fan base in the league, and they've never accomplished anything. At least non-original 6.
Yeah.
They have, because high school hockey is huge in Minnesota. It's like football, high school football in Texas. It's enormous. They love their hockey. And Minnesota's been around since the year 2000, year I was born. They've done nothing. I don't think they've ever made it past the second round. Their best player in history, if you exclude Kaprizov, is Marian Gaborik. They've never had a good goalie outside of not Habibulin. What's his name?
Dubnik.
Nicholas Backstrom, the other Nicholas Backstrom.
Yeah, Dubnik, he was good for a couple years.
Yeah, but come on, Nathan. I never would have called him elite. Like,
didn't he get Norris votes?
Norris
Or not
as a
Norris,
goalie?
sorry, Vezina.
Yeah, but he never won. Like this team is just mid. They could squeak into the playoffs. Like, Kaprizov could go for 120 points. Like, he's excellent. But they're still in cap hell from the Suter Parise buyouts.
They got one more year of that, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think this is their last year where it's bad. I think from after this season, it's manageable. But I don't see, like, next year, like, are you going to sign a whole bunch of free agents? Minnesota's never a big free agent team, or hasn't been in 10 years. And we all know Kaprizov is probably pulling up Panarin and leaving when his deal's up. I think he's got 2 more years left, maybe 3.
I believe it's 2.
Yeah. So and then you're in a rebuild. So as far as Kaprizov can take them, they'll go. Probably their best case scenario is first round exit. If everything goes right, they can win one round. But nothing in their history says they can do that.
This is where we differ at first. I'll leave my wild thoughts for after. I have Utah at 6. I'm still not fully sold on them. And like I'll wait till to see if you have them in the playoff spot or not. I feel like you're not gonna, but maybe, I don't know, I could see it. Um I'm not I'm not there on Utah yet with the team. I think they're probably gonna compete right till the end this year. And because they were like, we'll keep in mind for the fact that they were in a playoff spot come, I think, mid-January last year. And then the relocation rumors started. They fell off a cliff because they got all distracted by it. So I don't like, I think that's probably going to be the same scenario. They're going to be fighting for a playoff spot, but I think they're going to miss by a little bit. They're close, and it's probably next year. And I could totally see it this year because new market. You want to get this team in the new market, in the playoffs, whatever, showcase them as much as possible. But I'm not fully there. I love Keller. He's sick. I love Gunther because he should be a Canuck, but he's not. But it's okay. We'll ignore that fact. Thanks, Jim Benning. Um,
Isn't it funny how good Connor Garland is and that trade is still so bad?
yeah, it's terrible. It's horrible. Like at the time, I was like, oh, Louis Erickson or Oliver
And we
Ekman-Larsson.
gave them all of our shit players. Like, we gave them Roussel, Beagle, and Erickson. So we got rid of those three shit players, got a good player back, and Ekman Larson wasn't terrible his first season. And then it still turned out to be horrible.
Think about if we had just even done it as the 9th overall pick for Garland. Just that straight up.
No, you got Garland maybe in the shit contracts. I don't know.
What? No, because Garland was actually valued at that time. I think he scored like 25 goals the previous year.
Yeah, he's always
Um,
been a good player.
I yeah, that trade, man. We were 1 year, like, imagine that trade didn't happen and we'd have $12 million in cap space to work with the next offseason. It'd be insane. I don't know who we would have signed, but
No DeBrusque. Well, maybe you get DeBrusque anyway, but I don't know. That's butterfly
no,
effect shit.
because it would have been 2022 free agency, 2021,
Yeah,
22.
21.
Was it 21?
21 because that was the Gunther draft.
But it
So
was
the
the next
next,
year those contract
yeah,
came off, so 2022. I forget who even went in 2022 free agency, but I'm sure Benning would have fucked up if he was still around, but I don't think he was by then. No, it was LV and brother. Yeah.
we would have
Anyways,
signed Joel Edmondson or something. Anyway, keep going.
Joel Edmondson, 4 year, $4 million contract. Um, they picked who they pick up. They signed Ian Cole on defense. I know they got picked up. Sergachev, sick pickup. They picked up Marino, sick pickup. I love both those. I'm a little sketch on Sergachev though, coming off a broken leg. Is he going to be the same player right away? I don't know. Not really sold there yet. Um, in that Ingram, Vejmelka. Ingram may like I'm not really sold on either of them either. Like they both had fluke like they've all both had like a hot year. I think it was Ingram last year and then Vejmelka the year prior was good. Can you back it up for 2 seasons now? Can one of them do it? We'll see. But I have them just missing at number 6 in the Central.
Okay, that's interesting. My next team may be a little controversial here, but I'm a hater, so whatever. As I wait for my screen to load. This is a big regression candidate, in my humble opinion. I have the drumroll, Nathan. Nathan is drum rolling in the screen, looking kind of awkward. But I have the Winnipeg Jets in 6th place.
Ooh. This
Yep.
was my take last year. I thought they were going to regress and then they proved me wrong and finished second in the division.
Well, Nathan, this is the year they regress.
Okay.
They still have yet to sign what's his name?
Full
I don't
Perfetti.
think yeah. Cole Perfetti is not under contract yet. Their depth is mediocre. Looking at their bottom six now, they have two objectively good players. I'm not counting Mason Appleton, Morgan Barron, and David Gustafson as very good. They got Niederreiter, but he's old. Adam Lowry's a pure third liner, and Alex Iafallo was just all right. And they got Vladislav Nemesnikov as their second line center. I'm expecting a dip from Scheifele. Nikolai Ehlers was not trusted at all by Rick Bowness. I don't expect that to change under Scott Arniel because Scott Arniel was Bowness's top lieutenant. I really don't expect their system to change very much. Velarde's constantly injured. There's literally, you go back to his draft year, he's been injured every single year. I think he has chronic back problems. Scheifele's a black hole defensively. No Perfetti. He's not signed yet. Free agents never go there. Their defense isn't great. I mean, Morrissey DeMello is a good top pair. But then you got Sandberg on the second pair, and then Colin Miller and Logan Stanley. Like, I have friends who are Jets fans, and my friend's dad always says about the Jets, Logan Stanley is three things: big, tall, and stupid with the puck because he handles the puck like a grenade. It's really funny. He's from Winnipeg, so you can say that. But and Hellebuck's great, but they're one Hellebuck injury away from being awful because Capo Kakinen is their goalie, is their backup, and he's pretty ass. So this is a bit of a bold prediction. I realize they could easily make the playoffs. Everyone's under contract, but I don't know. This is my regression pick. I could be wrong, but I got Winnipeg Jets in 6th place in the division.
Yeah, you have him 5th.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you picked Chicago.
Oh yeah,
St.
I got him
Louis.
5th. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I'm so washed. 5th. Math. Can't do math.
So no wild card, no playoffs for them.
No.
Okay.
I have one in each division.
I also have the Jets in the 5th spot. And I have them as my wild card too. I'm expecting a bit of regression, but I don't think they're going to regress enough to miss the playoffs. I just can't. I did it last year, them missing the playoffs, and it just bit me in the ass. They finished. I was 5 spots on them. I think I had them 7th last year in this division, and they came 2nd. I was like, that's great. Learn from my mistakes. They have the best goalie, or the second best goalie in the world, I would say, in Connor Hellebuck. Shesterkin being the best. And I just can't bring my head around to say they're gonna miss as long as he's there. He's like that much of a game changer. Yes, if he gets hurt, they're screwed. Probably. If he misses like a month, they're screwed. They will suck. We'll see. I wonder if is Braden Yeager gonna make the team? Do we think?
Maybe. I would think so because I think they were planning on McGroarty to make the team.
No,
So he might get the McGroarty spot.
They were gonna have him like in and out, I'm pretty sure, and that's like he's like, I don't want to be in and out. I want
Stupid. Like that can't be that can't be the reason. He had to have said, no, I'm not going to Winnipeg.
That's also he probably didn't say it, but he's like, think in my head, I don't want to play in Winnipeg.
Like you don't jerk around your top prospect when you're Winnipeg and you can't get free agents. Their whole MO has to be drafting and development. That's okay. Like it's not their. Like you can do that when you're a small market team where the winters are shit, but you can't jerk around your prospect. That's the reason that's really stupid by Cheveldayoff.
I'm still obsessed with their defense too, though. To be honest, was it Pionk? Josh Morrissey was actually really good last year, probably better than the previous year. Less points, but he was much better defensively. So he's kind of legit now. I can't even think about who's on their second pair. Or Pionk doesn't
Sandberg. It's Sandberg and Pionk.
And then who's on the top pair now? It's
Morrissey DeMello.
Right.
DeMello.
Right.
DeMello is really good.
Yes, you're a big DeMello guy. I still feel like they lack another presence back there. If that makes like that's just me. But
they only have one star on defense.
Ideally,
you have
they kind of like I think they were hoping that would be Pionk, and Pionk hasn't turned into that, in my opinion. He had a good year, I think 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I think. Excuse me. I think also they were hoping Ville Heinola would be good, and he's done nothing at the NHL level.
That's true.
Who's your number 5?
The Jets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's pretty much all I need to say. And I'm doing this all off the top of my head. I don't have any depth charts or anything, so that's why I keep asking like who's on defense. But I do know it's just like slow to me. But I'm
Yeah.
trying to ramble on at the same time. Number 4, and this will be your first or second wild card spot.
Yeah, I was thinking of amending that, but now I'm just going to stick to my guns. One's coming from the Pacific, and I'll save that for
Yeah.
later.
Will this be wild card like spot number 2 or wild card spot number 1 though?
This is wild card 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've used.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be Utah because
Yeah, it's Utah. Yep. So we went over Utah a little bit. Maybe not the best, but one of the best collections of young talent in the league. Like, it's really a shame for Arizona fans that they get ripped away now because they were so shit for so long with no real prospects or no real hope for the future. And they're just on the cusp of being great right now. And that's when they get ripped away. Like, I'll go over the players they have now. And like, they have like 5 players in their forward core that are just emerging from prospect status into full-time NHLers.
I forgot to mention Logan Cooley when I was mentioning them, and you're totally gonna say him now.
Yeah, like these are players that are entering, who are just beginning to crest as NHL talents. Barrett Hayton, Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Josh Doan, Matthias Michelli, Jack McBain. Now on defense, Sean Dursey, who I think is really good. Juuso Valimaki has turned out to be quite good. That's a huge L by Calgary, moving on from him without giving him a chance. Michael Kesselring's really underrated. You have a couple goaltenders who aren't absolutely terrible. Connor Ingram was really good. Karel Vegemelk has a bit of a track record of being at least decent. Like, they got Ian Cole for depth, and that's all he can really be at this point, but that's cool. They're playing him on the third pairing because they got Sergachev and Dursey on the first pairing. That's one of the more underrated first pairings in the league. John Marino has had his moments. Lawson Krause is a solid veteran. Clayton Keller is an excellent veteran. Nick Schmaltz is a really good player. Barrett Hayton, I'm expecting to be a breakout performer this year. He's one of my breakout players because their center depth is pretty mid. That's really their only major weakness is their centers. Like, let's say Logan Cooley's a number 2, which I think he is right now. Their other centers are Hayton, Nick Bjugstad, and Jack McBain. Not great.
Don't they play Schmaltz at center normally?
No, he's right wing.
Okay.
He plays with Keller on the first
You're right.
line.
It's like Hayton, Keller, and Schmaltz, right?
Like, it's weird because my Hockey News yearbook has Bjugstad as their number 1 center, but Daily Faceoff uses Barrett Hayton. So I'm expecting Hayton to be way better. I'm expecting Josh Doan to build on a solid start. Alex Kerfoot is useful depth. So yeah, I'm expecting playoffs. There could be a culture shock of going to a whole new city and a whole new state. We haven't had a relocation in a while. I don't think Winnipeg was very good after the first year of relocation. But different scenario. Atlanta was pretty shit when they moved. So I'm expecting Utah to be good. And one thing they need to do, one thing that I've been reading is Seattle's a very crowded sports market, and the Kraken are doing well. They're not in any trouble, but they're not number 1. They're not the number 2. And honestly, you can argue they're not even the number 3 team in their market because University of Washington, the Huskies college football does really well there. Utah, it's the Jazz. That's it. And you don't need to be better than the Jazz just yet. There's an opportunity right now for Utah Hockey Club or Utah Yeti, whatever they plan on being, to make inroads this season. If they can be good right off the bat, that would be huge for them. Because it's a non-traditional market, right? So
Agreed.
It's important to be good right away.
So we're basically the same. We're just flipping spots. In my wild card 1 spot now, because I had the Jets in my wild card 2. I have the Wilds. We kind of touched on them already with you. I'm kind of banking on. Look, they had shit goaltending last year for a lot of the year. As long as they get like I'm not saying Gustafsson needs to go back to what he was 2 years ago. As long as he is in between, honestly, they're probably going to be better because they almost pushed for a playoff spot at the end last year. Plus, I think Marco Rossi is really good, and I think he can improve. I think Boldy's going to be good. I think he'll improve. Kaprizov's going to do his thing. Like, Kaprizov could score 55 goals. Don't think that's a hot take. I think he could score 60 technically if everything goes right, but I think he'll like 55 more realistic. Um, you said their defense is pretty mid. I actually really like their defense, weirdly. I don't know. Brodeen's really always been underrated his whole career. Faber is really good. I'm really high on him. I think he could be like McAvoy level good, but that's might be hot to take or hot to say. I don't know. I think he's that good. Plus, he like what he played 25 minutes a night as a rookie. I think it was. It's crazy. Um, Spurgeon, you said was hurt. How long is Spurgeon out for?
I don't know. It just had a little. I don't think it's a major injury.
Okay.
I'll just look it up quickly. But yeah, keep going.
I'm trying to think who's their lefty to with Spurgeon because normally Faber and Brodeen. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right. It's not Bogosian. Come on, daily face-off load. You're paying Frank Sarvelli too much money. Okay. Middleton. Jacob Middleton.
Right. Maybe not a number 4 on a team, but like you can live with it if you got like those 3 in front of him. I think Bogosian, I'm fine if as long as he's playing bottom pair. Doesn't really bother me. And then I believe it's Declan Chisholm as their lefty 3.
Uh, Hold on. I just have the Jared Spurgeon page up right now.
I don't know why I know that and didn't know it was Middleton on
I
this.
think it's Chisholm.
Yeah. Which I mean, maybe more like 6-7, but whatever. He's third pair. Doesn't really bother them that much. I'm just thinking they have Gustafson, they have Fleury, they have Jesper Wallstead, who could steal games. I'm thinking I think they honestly could run 3 goalies up in the NHL this year. I know the Canucks have been thinking about it too. I could see the Wild doing it. But one of those guys, I believe, will be good enough to be like an average number 1 starter in the NHL this year. And I think if they get that, they're going to be bounced back from last year. Yes, their forward depth is concerning. I think they can address that come deadline. And then I think they're going to be good this year. They're going to bounce back. And then next year is where it gets scary because they'll have cap space. Yes, they're not a very good free agent attractor, but maybe something will change. We'll see.
Maybe.
Top 3.
Okay. This is a weird one because if they're healthy, I expect them to be higher, but I'm not expecting them to be healthy. I have the Colorado Avalanche in third place. Most of that is because I have no clue how much Gabriel Landeskog is going to play. If they're lucky, half a season. I know Valerie Linchushkin isn't going to play very much. And they're starting to be in cap hell a little bit. Their bottom 6 is horrible. Their defensive depth is okay, but believe me, I watched Eric Bransford for a while. He isn't very good. And last year, Georgiev wasn't very good, and Justus Annunen had to bail them out. Then Georgiev found it enough in the playoffs. They're still Colorado. They still got McKinnon. They still got Rantanen. That's their bread and butter. Jonathan Drouin had a really nice season. I was happy for him. Lehkonen and Middlestad are both good players. But forward depth is mediocre. They've lost 2 big members of their forward core, Landeskog and Nichushkin. I don't know when, if at all, they're coming back. And their window, it's not closed, but it's closing. So I'd say they got 2, maybe 3 more years left of sustained contention before their players start to decline and or leave for more money. Like, for example, Mikko Rantanen's a pending UFA. I think they'll keep him, but they're going to have to pay him a lot of money.
He'll get signed.
Right?
Get signed.
Yeah. Yes. But the point is, after they sign him, they'll have him making a ton of money. Taves makes a ton of money. If Landeskog comes back, he's making a lot of money. McKinnon's making a lot of money. They're going to have to pay Middlestat. I think they've already paid Gerard. So
I think
cap
Gerard's a
hell
pretty
is coming
movable.
for
I
them.
think Gerard's a pretty movable contract when it comes though. When they have
Yeah,
to.
but they have no prospects, right? So when you're a good team, you don't really have any good defensive prospects.
Mhm.
So I like Oliver Shillington as a buy low.
Yeah.
So for their third pairing.
Signing. I too have Colorado at 3. I'm kind of your logic has hidden me pretty good there. Their depth is very concerning at this point. But you're saying their window's closing or closed. It's never closed when you have McKinnon and McCarr around, and then you got a supporting piece like Rantanen. It will never close.
I
They will
used to hear
always.
that. I used to hear that about Patrick Kane.
It's never closed. But that like the Blackhawks got old by then. Like Keith got old. Taves didn't necessarily get old, but he started getting worn down by injuries. Kane did too, but Kane still won an MVP after they won the Crowds. And they found a gem in Panarin that helped the next couple of years. But
And then they ruined it by trading him.
yeah,
That was funny.
no, their window will never close with McKinnon and McCarr in their prime, in my opinion. It's kind of like the Oilers. No matter what, the Oilers could like after they sign Bouchard, Draisaitl, McDavid, they're all on those contracts. The rest of the team is probably going to be pretty damn shit, but they will still be competitive because and they will always be a cup contender because you have McDavid, you have Draisaitl, who are two debatably top 5 players in the league. McDavid definitely top 5. Draisaitl you can argue for just outside, just inside. So that's kind of where I kind of look at McCarr, McKinnon, Rantanen, I guess. Debatably a bit. I would say they've got a better big 3 than the Oilers. I don't think that's hard of me to say.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Rantanen's just a way better step than Bouchard. Or I guess you can look at it as
And McCarr's
to Bouchard, and then
well, McDavid over McKinnon, Rantanen slightly over Draisaitl.
whoa,
McKinnon.
you're taking Rantanen over Draisaitl?
Well, no,
No, I'm
I'm
taking
not.
Draisaitl over.
No, I'm not.
But I think
No, I'm
I
not.
think it's closer between Rantanen and Draisaitl than
I
it
think
is McCarr and Bouchard.
Yes, I agree. So it's not funny. Edmonton is 2 of 3, but is lower.
Yeah, I guess. But so yeah, and Nichushkin, I honestly don't think he's going to come back.
No, I think his
I
contract's going to get terminated.
And I think if he does, like if he's allowed to, Colorado's going to be like, sorry, see ya, we don't want you anymore.
I'm going to need
like
some transparency here.
It was crazy in the playoffs when it came out, and like you saw McCarr talking about it, you saw all of them go through their media talking about Nichushkin, and they're just like, he made his choice. What it is? We move on. They're just like, fuck him, basically. We don't need him anymore.
I'm going to need to know what happens because it has to be more than just he got coked up and drunk, and his girlfriend got coked, or whoever he was with, his escort or whatever, got coked up as well. It's got to be more than that.
No, because that was last year. The previous, like this year though, what was it? He just he relapsed again. I think it was
something like that, but I don't know, man.
I need to look.
There's got to be some kind of contract termination for a second strike because he was already in the player assistance program, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, after the first time.
So, well, there's only so much you can do for some people, and cut bait.
Number 2,
Nashville Predators. Last 2 are pretty straightforward. I think Nashville had a really good offseason. I'd be really excited if I was a Nashville fan. Steven Stamkos isn't what he used to be. He's not going to score 50, but he's got a good chance of scoring 40 again because I expect Nashville to be a bit of an offensive juggernaut, honestly. Because Ryan O'Reilly still has a lot in the tank. They just brought in Marchessault, who's an excellent player. Philip Forsberg is one of my favorite players to watch in the league. It's a shame he played in Nashville for all those years because he never got proper attention. Ready for a hot take here, Nathan?
Yeah.
Philip Forsberg on his best day is better than Marner and Nylander. I think. Nylander for sure, maybe Marner.
I'm
maybe
gonna
not
say, oh, that's tough because right now I think most people are gonna say they'd take Nylander over Marner just after the playoffs and stuff.
Yeah, but that's just because Marner always sucks in the playoffs.
I'm still gonna say I'm gonna try and not let recency bias get the best of me, and I'll say Marner. Nylander, I think you could make an argument for. Marner, I think his defensive ability would help him put over Forsberg.
Yeah, that's fair enough. They got Nyquist. He's really good. Tommy Novak's really underrated as their second line center. Luke Evangelista is an up and coming young player. Michael McCarron's a good fourth liner. Their depth on offense isn't great. When you got star power like they do, even if it's getting older, I still expect them to be quite good. One of the more underrated defensive cores in the league, Brady Shea, just signed a big deal there. He's excellent. We all know what Roman Josi can do. One of the best defensemen of his era. Alex Carrier is really underrated as their second pair right shot. We'll see what Lauzon can do. And they got Luke Shen playing exactly where he should be, third pair. And then that's without even mentioning how good UC Saros is. I know he had a bit of a down year last year, but I'm expecting a bounce back now that he doesn't have Askarov looking over his shoulder. Scott Wedgwood is nothing more than a serviceable backup, which Askarov wasn't. Askarov was going to be coming for the number one job. And sometimes as a starter, you just want a backup who you know isn't gunning for you. And I think that'll be good for Saros. So second in the division, win around maybe two. Players are getting older here. Stamkos getting old, O'Reilly's getting old, Marchessault's getting old. This is kind of a weird one where you sign all these free agents and you really only have 2 or 3 years to make the most out of them. So we'll see. I'm happy Stamkos got his money after Brisebois kind of lowballed him with the 1 year, 2 year deals. So that was kind of stupid. That's not how you treat your best player of all time.
My hot take is I have the Dallas Stars at 2. Yeah, I'm going bold. They still haven't signed Thomas Harley, right?
There's a lot of RFAs that haven't been signed.
Well, it's like Harley, Sider, Raymond, Swayman, Perfetti are like the top 5, I think. Unless I'm missing someone there, but
I don't think so.
I don't know, like I don't know. I think the Preds are kind of like my sneaky division pick this year. Like there's always one. Last year was Vancouver. The previous year, I guess you could say would have been Boston then. Like, were they really supposed to? Yeah, no. Everyone was picking them to be wild card.
Yeah,
and then they went down the record year. So that's kind of my sneaky bold take is Stars second. They're still really good, obviously, but I wonder Pavelski, retired now. How much is that like veteran presence going to affect them in the locker room? Is Stankoven and like Maverick Bork ready to step into those big roles yet? I don't know. They looked like Stankoven looked really good in the playoffs, but let's see it in the playoff. Let's see regular season now. It was a small sample size. I worry about and like Wyatt Johnson too. Sick in playoffs, but like he was sick in the playoffs the previous year too? Why didn't he like step up in the regular season? I thought he didn't do it as much as I think people thought. So if he doesn't step up again, then we'll see. But on defense, I'm not really sold on their defense. I know they picked up Dumba and Lyubushkin. Like Dumba's playing top 4. Lindell's solid. I think the Tanev loss is gonna hurt. And then I can't remember who's playing lefty 3 on their team. Because it's Harley Heiskanen, then it's
lucky you, Nathan. I have it up here. It's
okay.
Brendan Smith.
Yeah.
Mid.
Yeah, not great. And then Onger, yes, he's really highly touted, but like he hasn't really been that good in like the past 2 years. I don't think.
Yeah, his reputation is higher than what his play has been. Recently.
He was not very good last year. So that's my take. And then I'll get into the Preds quick. Why I kind of have them at 1. I don't love the contracts they necessarily gave out. I like them for this year though. Stamkos, I think, can put up like 80 points on that contract this year. Marchessault is coming off a career year, but he only got paid like 6.5 when he probably could have got paid more based off his year. Shea, I'm a little sketch on 7x7. I think it was not. Maybe I'm underestimating him. I don't know. But I think why I'm putting Nashville this high is, well, one, they got hot at the end of the year, and they didn't really lose too many key pieces from that team. Plus, Saros was kind of average last year. What happens if he bounces back? That's kind of what I'm banking on, a Saros bounce back and them being my number 1 team in the Central.
Okay. Well, I have Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm expecting Dallas maybe to have the best offense in the entire league. I don't think there's any team in the league with better offensive depth. Like they got Jamie Benn on their third line. I know he isn't what he used to be, but he's still a good player. Maverick Bork tore up the AHL. He's really good. Logan Stankoven has had some really nice moments in both the NHL and AHL level. I know how good Jason Roberts and Rupe Hintz are. They're both great. Wyatt Johnston is he broke out last year. He's had his moments, but I'm expecting him to be really good. Matt Duchene is back on a value contract. He's in a perfect spot for him where he can play second line center. He doesn't have to worry about carrying the load Tyler Seguin can get his 50 to 60 points and be good. He doesn't have to carry the load either. And they got Sam Steele and Evgeny Dadonov on the fourth line, which is perfectly fine. Defense, you're right. It's worse than it was last year. They're going to miss Tanev. They need to get Harley signed. We all know how good Heiskanen and Lindell are. Heiskanen's one of the best in the league. Esa Lindell is one of the most underrated. But the bottom three defensemen aren't great. Lyubushkin's nothing more than a snarl defenseman guy. He's useful but not great. Brendan Smith is a bit of a goon. Kind of just runs around. That's kind of what he does at this point in his career. And Matt Dumba is one of the more overrated players of the last decade. He's on his, I don't want to say last legs, because he's still somewhat useful. But if you're expecting Minnesota Wild Matt Dumba, that's just not going to happen. And Ottinger, even though he's been kind of mid the past few years, I'm expecting him to be better now that he has a proper backup in Casey DeSmith, who can
And Scott
spell him
Wedgwood,
at least. I don't know. Scott Wedgwood's kind of a tweener. He's kind of an AHL, NHL backup tweener. Casey DeSmith is a legitimate NHL backup, probably a higher end backup. So I would think they're going to look to reduce Ottinger's workload a little bit during the season so he can be more fresh for the playoffs. But yeah, I have them in first.
Yep, fair enough. President's Trophy
Maybe
again, or they didn't win it
um
this last year. The Rangers did.
yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
It'll be close though.
That wraps up the Central Division. And so you have. I'm assuming the Kings are going to be back in the playoffs for you then on the other side, but we'll leave that till the very end because we are going to Atlantic next week, probably. Maybe Metro, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think Atlantic.
Okay. Maybe a surprise guest. Maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Joe Biden.
Kamala Harris. Or Kamal.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
Nathan.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, she whooped him pretty good yesterday, but anyways.
Oh, I just keep seeing their feet, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Like, what? Where's this coming from?
That's what happens when you bring in like someone in JD Vance who's from like buttfuck nowhere, inbred Ohio. That's what you get when you bring in someone like him. You get weirdo lunacy, conspiracy theories. So
I loved
anyway,
the handshake they had at the beginning of the debate. It was just
Kamala Harris just walks right up to him. That's a power move. I mean,
respect. And then they were in New York today, and it was what, Biden and Kamala.
Kamala. Come on,
Kamala.
man.
Sorry,
and then it was like Michael
Trump,
Bloomberg.
Yeah, and then Trump and Vance. It was just like so awkward. Well, like Trump and
it looked like, you know what it looked
Kamala
like? It looks like when you're like, it looks like when you're like a recess and you're picking teams for dodgeball, and you got all these bums left over. Like I thought it was kind of funny.
Okay. So now we will go to, what did I say we were going to start with?
NFL?
Yeah, right. Week 1. Couple games I wanted to recap just because I don't know, I watched a couple. Let me get my notes up, or my scores up. We'll start with my Seahawks actually, because and I actually want to say this about the Broncos before I go with my Seahawks. Bo Nix, you fucking suck. You're terrible. Holy shit, you're bad. I know you're a rookie.
Get ready to learn accountant.
But you're like
no, he doesn't get rookie. He doesn't get the rookie shit. He's like 28.
No, he's
he doesn't
24.
Is he 24?
Yeah, he's an old rookie, but he's like 24. I think he's almost going to be 25. But like, man, you should be more pro ready than that. You sucked. You were terrible. And I was seeing Broncos fans on Twitter being like, this guy's going to be our savior, blah, blah, blah. And like, everyone was overreacting about his preseason performance. He fucking sucked. He put the ball in so many dangerous spots against the Seahawks. Anytime he pushed the ball downfield, it was like, this thing is getting picked off. The Seahawks could have had like 5 interceptions off him. There was a couple balls that went like through the defense's hands. The 2 interceptions he threw, the one he was just like staring at his receiver for so long that Julian Love just read it when picked it off. And then the second was he threw it into triple coverage. That's going to work well. No, he sucks. What?
Was that someone else who threw a pick and then was like, Was
No,
that
that was
Drew
Will
Lock?
Levis. That was Will Levis.
Okay.
We'll get to that game in a sec, but yeah, he sucks. He was throwing checkdowns all game, and he was bad. From a Seahawks perspective, I was not pleasantly, because I thought their defense was going to be way more improved than Mike McDonald, but their defense looked very solid that game, I thought. And they're like, everyone's saying, oh, you gave up 20 points to the Broncos. Okay, one of them was a pick from Geno right at the beginning of the game, which I will say, not his fault. I'll get into that in a sec. Like they gave up a field goal. They held him to a 3-and-out and made him kick a field goal to start the game. Then they had 2 safeties given up. So there's 7 points right there. Another field goal. That was was it a late drive down? No, I think it was a fumble. No, wait, what am I getting at here? I forget where this field goal came from, but then they gave up, like, I know there was a late drive that got him a field goal, and then the Bo Nix rushing touchdown, desperation time. Honestly, good play from Nix. Sure. Give him that. But I thought their defense was way better. They couldn't tackle for shit last year. They were very good at tackling in that game. And I thought, like, there was stud performances like everywhere. I thought Woolen played really well. I thought Witherspoon played really well. Love played really well. They all had like really high PFF grades, which is good to see. And like they had like really good coverage grades. I think all 3 of them. Leonard Williams is a beast on the D line. Byron Murphy, I didn't see too much, but I saw a couple plays where I actually didn't like. Yeah, I didn't really see him much. And their linebackers, I thought, way better. I thought than last year. Bobby Wagner was old, slow, couldn't really run. It's good. Now their problem, and I don't like Geno's pick at the beginning of the game, and throughout most of the first half, their offense was shit in the first half. Their offensive line sucks. Might be the worst in the league, probably second worst, I'd say. No, I need to look more into it, but it was terrible, hard to watch. They couldn't block for shit, either pass game, run game, nothing was working. Then the second half came around. For the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, they started to block. Geno could throw the ball. Kenneth Walker broke out in the second half rushing wise. That's going to be their downfall, though. Their offensive line is terrible. And like every time Geno got given a clean pocket to throw from, he was good. But the one pick he had and like the whole first half, he did not have a clean pocket because somebody was getting beat or 2 people were getting beat and he'd have to like dump it off really fast. But as long as they're off, if they can like somehow find a way to improve this offensive line, this is a playoff team. I will say that. Their offensive line terrifies the fuck out of me, though, seeing that. So, I don't know if you got anything to say on that. That was just my rant about my Seahawks. I want to get that out of the way.
Yeah, I didn't watch much of the Seahawks game. I don't like either team. I don't like Sean Payton at all. And Seahawks, I like to be contrarian and mess with them. But yeah, they looked all right. It was time to move on from the Pete Carroll era in the Legion of Boom. Time to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I expect them to be all right. Maybe they can go 9-8, maybe a little better, make the playoffs. Just in terms of like what else I saw in the league, my Bengals didn't do well. They lost.
Yeah, they are like, what is up with them? And I saw the stat under Zach Taylor. Ever since he became a head coach, in the first 2 weeks of the season, they are 1-10 now.
Yeah, it's weird. Part of that's because Joe Burrow's hurt every year at the beginning of the season. Like, he had his calf thing last year. He has his wrist this year. This was a game they shouldn't have lost. New England isn't good, but part of it was they had a few things. Like, they fumbled at the goal line. That was a touchdown. Worst case scenario, you're on the 1-yard line and you score 99 times out of 100, unless you're Russell Wilson, you throw the ball to Ricardo Lockett.
Hey.
But and like then on the next play or the next drive, they forced New England to punt, and then their punt returner, some bum Taylor I've never heard of in my life, he fumbles the ball at his own 20-yard line and they score again. So that's like a 14-point swing there. They should have won. Burrow, I like you, my guy, but you can't keep coming into every single training camp hurt or getting hurt in training camp. Chase, get your shit together and play this year under contract. And next offseason, you can settle, you can renegotiate. It's getting a little ridiculous, frankly. like with Chase. Like you have a 2-year deal, man. Play it out. You signed your rookie contract. And then like 1 year holdouts I can accept, 2 years bullshit. Because NFL, it's a non-guaranteed contract, so I can accept 1 year's. 2 years is bullshit. Get yourself in shape and play because Tyler Boyd's gone. T. Higgins is probably on his way out. Don't really have a good tight end. Well, they have no, Laporte is a Lion. But yeah, like get it together, Bengals, because I expect more out of you.
Yeah,
In terms of other games, I didn't watch a ton of football. I saw Sam Darnold do well. Nice little story, but that's a one game kind of thing. Daniel Jones looks awful again. Looks like he'll be with the Costco guys, like I said a couple streams ago, eating some double chunk chocolate cookies. Because that's what he was throwing. He's throwing some double chunk chocolate cookies. My goodness. Um,
I want to touch
but
on
yeah,
this Bengals game quick for my thoughts at least. I'm scared for Joe Burrow. I really am. His wrist does not seem like it is 100% healthy still.
it isn't.
And it's his throwing wrist, and that is concerning. And I'm a Joe Burrow fan, but I don't know. He didn't. It's not like he was bad this game though. I will say, like he was like 21 of 29 passing, only threw like 170 yards or whatever. New England's defense is good though. That's the problem. Um, they just couldn't rush the ball, and Jamar was limited. Didn't have T. Higgins on the other side, and we'll see because they're basically a two-weapon team now. They lost Mixon, they lost Tyler Boyd's gone, and was it their tight end last year was John Smith? I'm pretty sure.
Who was it? Was it Irv Smith?
Oh, that's who. Or yeah, I think
Yeah.
2 years ago it was. I forget.
It was I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't your stand. It wasn't like it wasn't a blocking tight end. It was receiving tight ends, but I can't
Yeah.
remember who it was.
So I don't know. They're basically a two-weapon team now. Lost Mixon, lost Boyd. Like
I
it's a
don't
little
think
sketch.
Mixon. I don't think they need Mixon. I
No,
think
I don't
Chase
think you do.
Brown and Zach Moss will be just fine. But if Burrows hurts, then they're fucked.
Mhm.
Like he needs to get his shit together.
Um, quick little. I'll do a kind of like a quick little rapid fire segment of my thoughts. And some of these games I did not fully watch. I was mostly watching on Red Zone until the Seahawks came on, and then I was watching the Seahawks because I focus on my team. Steelers Falcons. Kirk is rusty, cannot move. Steelers. Justin Fields still sucks. They scored. They're lucky to win a game without scoring a touchdown.
That was the most Steelers game I've ever seen in my life.
Mm. And TJ Watt is very good at football. I learned that game as well. Vikings and Giants. Sam Darnold was cool, and it's good because I have him as my backup QB in my super flex league, and Jordan Love is hurt, so he's gonna have to play. But the Giants suck still. They 100% do. Jags Dolphins. I love the Tyreek celebration after his 80-yard TD. And that game should have been the Jags because ETN fumbled at the one. I think it was a 10-point game. It would have been a 17-point game, but then they fumbled, and then the next play Tyreek scored. Literally the next play. So Jags should have won that game, but Tyreek is I don't know. What's your whole take on that situation? Did you? I'll ask you about that actually.
I think a few things can be true here. The cops clearly overdid it and went on a power trip. There's no reason to drag him out of the car and put him on the ground. That was too much. I think we can all agree on that. But if a cop tells you to put your window down, you don't roll it up multiple times. That's just dumb. So I think both parties can learn a lesson here. And maybe if it wasn't Tyreek Hill, who's like beat multiple women, I'd feel a little worse. But I don't know. Both parties can learn a lesson.
Past Bengals. I went over Bills Cardinals. Both defenses have their issues, I'll say. I'm surprised Marvin Harrison wasn't more involved for Arizona either. I thought that would be a kind of a quick connection with him and Kyler, but Cardinals could be sneaky, but their defense is really bad. But their offense will keep them in games. Texans Colts, that was actually a really fun one. Two of my probably my two favorite young quarterbacks in the league, and Stroud and Richardson. Stephon Diggs didn't look terrible. He had 2 touchdowns, but I think
it's on my fantasy team.
I think he only had like 3 catches though, didn't he?
4, but he also ran a little bit.
Mm. How about that Anthony Richardson throw though? You see that one?
Yeah, it's pretty
The
nice.
60 air yard bomb after he slipped.
Yeah, it's a Michael Pittman, right? Yeah. That
No,
was
it
nice.
was to Alec Pierce, I think.
Hmm.
Bears Titans. Caleb is going to take time. I think I've been saying that a little bit. Like Caleb didn't look good, and what are you making, bear claw
No,
or
I'm
the
making
nails?
finger
Yeah.
nail polish. Yeah.
And I think that is completely fine. Like rookie quarterbacks rarely come in and be special right away, and I think even though he's supposed to be that good, it'll take time. But luckily, they have a good defense now, and they can win them games, which they did against there. That Will Levis interception, yes, that was terrible. The what am I doing? Throw was
That was funny.
Saints Panthers. Holy shit, Carolina is still terrible. I don't know what I was thinking they would improve. Um, yeah, the Panthers are terrible. Bryce Young, you look like I thought maybe with the Dave Canales offense you would have improved. You have not. I'm sorry. You are still really, really bad. And their defense sucked. You got torched by the Saints. Like the Saints scoring 47 on you is crazy, but is what it is. Chargers Raiders I didn't really pay much attention to because they were playing in the same time as the Seahawks. Can't really have much input on that other than I saw the fight, which was funny. Bucks Commanders, same thing. Didn't really have much input. I heard Jaden Daniels was kind of cool. Wanted to see more of him actually though. I wanted to see him rush and stuff. And then Cowboys Browns, I caught the end of. I will have thoughts on this one. Deshaun Watson, you fucking suck. Get out of the league. You're terrible.
Yeah,
It's over.
God, what a horrible trade. I mean, if you
Like,
set aside like the off-field stuff, it's still horrible.
could
Like my
you
goodness.
could you imagine if they had Baker Mayfield right now? Like how good this team would be because they're really
The
talented outside of quarterback, and
I
their quarterback
think
is
the
dragging them down.
Browns are just cursed.
Yes, they with
Every
quarterbacks. Yeah,
every time they get a quarterback, he dies or goes to shit, or the rest of the team stinks. Their best quarterback, excluding Deshaun Watson, in their new history, like 1999 onward, their best quarterback is Brian Hoyer.
no, it's Johnny Manziel. No, sorry, not John Mansell. It's Baker Mayfield.
Oh yeah, you're right. I
Yeah,
forgot about Pitt.
it's Baker.
Their second best is Brian Hoyer, or third best. That was weird how quickly they gave up on him. That
Baker.
whole 2019 thing was weird because they had Beckham and he was whining the whole time,
Well,
and Baker looked miserable.
and
Like, it
Baker
was
had a
weird.
shoulder injury, and I think they didn't think he was really going to recover
And they
from
had
that.
Freddie Kitchens, who like was barely qualified to be an offensive coordinator, and he was the coach. Like it was weird.
And then the Rams Lions game that was really fun. I didn't fully
Yeah,
catch
I
it
missed
all,
that game.
but really good game.
Go Lions.
Both are. Yeah, we'll see about the Rams because their defense is a little bit scary. It's scaring me, like I said in the preview. I think what was it last week or the week before? I was a little scared of their defense, and Puka's out now, so they're basically a one-weapon team in Cooper Cup and Kyron, I guess too. But and then Jets Niners. Aaron Rodgers,
You're trash.
you can't move. Your Achilles is not. It's gone. Like you cannot move anymore.
Go back to Fox News, you bum.
I don't know if there's any other games you wanted to touch on. I
Not really. I think we got over pretty much everything. I thought it was really funny there, and Rogers lost and looked bad at the same time. I like that the Lions had an exciting game. But yeah, good week one. Thing I'm most happy though is I absolutely killed my opponent in fantasy, so that was awesome.
I beat the shit out of my brother by like 50 points. It was nice.
Nice.
He had an awful week.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's like, you're welcome
Nathan.
for the birthday gift. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, Nathan. Zach Clark's making a fantasy hockey league, so you might want to join that.
Oh my god, I'm getting asked to join like 5 fantasy hockey leagues now, and I'm
gonna
like,
do at least 2, I think.
okay, and
I'm
I
in
keep
3
I keep
basketballs of football.
I keep saying this. It's like I'm not a fantasy hockey guy. Like I don't want to do
No,
it.
it's not. You have to do Yahoo, otherwise it sucks.
No,
There
I
is-
do.
there-
I do Yahoo's too, but I don't think I've been in a good one yet where it's been like active and stuff, and it's really just hasn't.
The best one was the BCIT one we did 2 years ago. That
And
was my best I've ever done.
I wasn't even like,
And it was good for about three quarters of the year.
I wasn't even a
And
fan
then
of
it was
that
done.
one. Okay, oh.
Yeah.
It's so I got like one with my basically ball hockey team they want to do. They got one with one of my main friend groups they want to do. Now I got this one. I think there was another one that I'm forgetting about as well they want me to do, and it's like, guys, I really don't want to do fantasy hockey, but I'm gonna have to pick and choose which ones I want to do because I don't want to get stuck in 4 fantasy hockey leagues, 2 football leagues, and a basketball league. That'd be hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantasy baseball is the only one I won't do anymore. I did it once, hated it, never again.
I loved baseball for a couple years. I was doing them since like 2016, I want to say, and I quit. This is my first year not doing it. I
It
had
just
some
doesn't work
had
for
some
me.
real no, I had some really fun years doing this, but then the league kind of got pretty dead, and it's just like I'm kind of done. But I won like 3 championships in like 7 years, so
Hmm. All right, I guess
uh,
that shelves it for football.
yep. Bo Bichette.
Do you have other tabs open or what?
I don't think I
Y-
do.
Yeah. Rumors have it with Bo that he said, or well, he not rumors. He said that he would like to stay long term with the Blue Jays. He wants to be with Vlad. He wants to win a championship, which kind of runs contrary to the rumors that he was going to play out the last year of his deal next year and then bounce. So it's kind of encouraging that he would say it, but he also said it to Shai Davidi, who works for Sportsnet, who works for Rogers, who owns the Blue Jays. So it's not like he said it to an impartial journalist. Um, and he's coming off the worst season of his career. He's not going to say anything that hurts anyone's leverage. Like he's in no position to make any demands. He's been hurt all year, and when he has been hurt, he's been terrible, as we've been over multiple times. Something I thought was pretty interesting was Buster and Olney said he doesn't buy the Bichette statement whatsoever. Right? Like he thinks he's still going to walk to free agency. That this was just window dressing. Um, so that's what I'm expecting. So I'm expecting that probably still to happen. I bet that the Blue Jays, if they're going to pick one player to sign between Bichette and Guerrero, um, I expect it to be Guerrero still, and that's what I'm guessing. They're going to sign Guerrero, and they're probably going to let Bichette walk if they don't trade him. So this, while it was encouraging to hear Bichette be somewhat positive about his tenure as a Blue Jay and what he wants in his future, it doesn't really change very much for me.
I just wonder too, is are the Jays going to want to dish out 2 massive contracts to Bichette and Guerrero? Because I don't think they will. I think they'll give up one. I think they'll save, like, they're kind of like, they would have given a contract to Shohei because Shohei and all the fans he pulls in and how just special of a talent he is. I don't think they'll give out 2 contracts. Like, I'm not saying, but Bichette would get less than Guerrero at this point. Probably like, what would Bichette maybe get? I'm not a contracts guy, but like an 8 by 220 maybe for Bichette.
Yeah.
And then Vlad's probably a 10 by 300, I would say, honestly, 30 mil a year. Maybe
Yeah,
he wants more. I don't know.
something along those lines. I don't think they can pay them both.
No, I don't think they will either. I don't
Not
think
with
they
their
can,
other
and I don't think they
commitments.
will. So if I had to pick one, yeah, I'm choosing Vlad. I'm a Bichette fan. Bichette's my favorite player. I would sign Vlad though. And it sucks because I think you'll have to trade if neither of them are going to sign this offseason. Bye bye. You're not losing them for nothing. You cannot do that. Absolutely unacceptable if you do. So both of them, if they don't sign, they're being traded. If one of them signs and one of them's like, oh, I'm not signing, whatever. Still trade them. Bye bye. Get your assets. That hopefully like Bichette's value isn't completely tanked by the offseason. Like it's bad already. I know it's at his lowest ever. Hopefully it's not so tanked that you can't even get like a somewhat decent top prospect for him.
I think it is. Because he's had the worst offensive season he's ever had. His defense is still mediocre, and he's battled injuries. I mean, I don't want this to be. I know he's younger than Donaldson was, but when they traded Donaldson at the worst of it, at the lowest point of his career, all they got was Merriweather, who was a back end bullpen arm. Like they're fools if they traded Bichette this offseason. Fools.
I'm trying to think. Oh, sorry, I had something I was gonna say. I was on. What was that? I think I was watching Sportsnet last night. Or no, I was just on at the restaurant, and they were showing Buffalo highlights because Bichette was rehabbing, and holy shit, he looks overweight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he looked a little fat there, not gonna lie. Probably, I mean, fair enough. You're coming off a calf injury. You're probably not doing much running or anything, but yeah, it didn't look like peak physical form Bichette. I don't know.
Damn, that's pretty funny.
But
Look where we've gone. Now we go from Fat Guerrero to Fat Bichette. We really have it
it's
lucky as
just
Blue Jays
continuing the
fans.
trend with Fat Jays.
Yep. Tellez,
Who's next?
Bichette, Vogelbach, Kirk. Good Lord.
We're gonna come into spring training next year and who's I
Me
don't
and you
know.
are going to be on the team.
Who's someone like really skinny on the team?
Leo Jimenez.
He's gonna be fat coming into camp next year.
Oh, God. Low Perfido.
He'll be 300 pounds coming into spring training next year.
Yeah. Shall we go over Gibby?
Yeah. This one you can kind of lead because I'm curious to see where you want to go with this one.
Okay, so John Gibbons is back in town with his New York Mets. They took 2 of 3 games in the series, which they needed because they're in a dogfight for the last wild card spot with the Atlanta Braves, who are decimated with injuries. And I thought it would be a good time to go over John Gibbons' legacy with the Blue Jays and in Toronto. So he had 2 stints here. The first one wasn't very successful, 2004 to 2008. That was during the 22-year run where the Blue Jays didn't make the playoffs, which is crazy to think about nowadays, thinking we have it so bad. They didn't make the playoffs for 22 years. Or was it 23? No, it was 22. 22.
22. Yeah.
So he had his first run, wasn't very successful. Then they brought him back in 2013. The team stank. 2014, they were mid, and then 2015, they broke through. One thing that's always interesting to me is Gibby is this beloved figure. But if Anthopoulos doesn't trade for Tulowitzki, if he doesn't trade for Price, and they miss the playoffs, he would have been fired after 2015 because Anthopoulos was gone and Shapiro and Atkins were in. So it's very interesting to see that effect, what that effect would have been if they don't make the playoffs. And then they make it again in 2016, but the team was kind of washed by that point. And then he was gone after the 2018 season, replaced by Charlie Montoyo, who was horrible, eventually replaced by John Schneider, who's slightly less horrible.
Our favorite bongos player.
Like if bongos and bunting, that's all I really remember with Montoyo, and that he was a deer in the headlights. But yeah, like Gibbons, it's funny. Like he's kind of outside of Cito Gat. He's like objectively the second best manager they've ever had outside of Gaston, and he was a 500 manager who had 2 playoff runs. It's so interesting to see how he's looked at by the fans because he really had 2 successful years, and he's loved. And it's just because, and it makes sense because that 2015 team, they haven't come close to that since. And they didn't have it ever beforehand, at least in my lifetime. Like it, that 2015 team, it still bugs me that they lost because of how good they were. And Gibbons was a good manager, that whole bunch of players that were good. But Gibby, he was a good manager. He's a good dude. But the question is, Nathan, would he have done better than John Schneider with this roster? Let's say it at the same time. 3, 2, 1.
No.
No. He wouldn't have.
No.
Managers can only do so much. Like Gibbons, I think, was an okay tactician, but no one is getting more out of this roster. Not that I'm saying Schneider should or shouldn't be back. I don't think he's a great manager by any means, but
I think we're in a very heavy analytics era now, these past couple of years. And I don't think 2015 was as much analytics then. And I think Gibby's not really an analytical kind of manager.
Yeah, I don't think he's managing again. Like he's the bench coach with the Mets, which is basically the assistant manager in baseball terms. Like his days of managing in the big leagues, unless like their guy Mendoza gets fired, like he's not going to be anything more than an interim manager at this point. Because I know he doesn't hate analytics, but he's much more of a traditional stats kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he had a good run. I read his book. He trashed Atkins a little bit. That was kind of fun.
Did he actually? What did he say?
A little bit, but he basically said, "Oh, I know I'm getting fired in my last year, so I'm just going to do what I want." Basically, because he basically made Atkins Shapiro out to be just like corporate hacks who didn't know how to talk to people, which was kind of funny. Because I think that's true. Like I'd rather literally kill myself than listen to a Ross Atkins press conference. At least Shapiro can talk a little bit. But
Um,
yeah, that's all I have to say basically.
in terms, oh, yeah, I think Gibbons was good, probably a little overhyped based off 2015, 2016. And then I really thought he was done. Honestly, when I heard he was going to be the Mets bench coach, I was really surprised actually. I thought he was 100% retired and just done. He was done managing, but or done even with baseball because he had the podcast going too. You ever listen to that podcast?
Yep, and I think he was scouting for the Braves. No.
Hmm.
Gibby, great guy, doesn't work as a podcaster. He rambles and his accent's so thick I can barely understand him.
Some of the guests were tolerable, but some of them were just like, man, it's just like two old heads talking. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. Um, yeah, love the guy. Probably a little overhyped. Um, yeah, because I'm curious. What can you like pull up their records from 13 to 2018? I want to see like
I know 2013 they were below average because that was the Reyes, Dickey, Burley year.
weren't they
Like, let
like
me just.
80 and 82 that year? I want to say.
No, it was worse. Hold on, let me just pull up Gibbons' record.
I'm curious
It
because
was, I think they were like 73 and 89, to be honest.
hmm,
It was awful. Hold on.
because I
Bear with
know
me.
2015 they were 93 and 16 or 69. Sorry.
No, okay, 13 they were 74 and 88. So I was off by one game. And that was the year they were expected to be excellent, right? Because they
So
had Dickey
sorry, what was the record again there?
73 or 74 and 88.
Okay.
That was his first year back. They were
Yeah.
last in the division. They brought in Reyes, R.A. Dickey, Mark Burley, and they were horrible.
And they had
Everyone
Ricky.
expected them to be
They had like
awesome.
Romero, RC, Arbencibia. That's how you say it.
Yep. Yep.
Who's the other pitcher they had hanging around?
Was it early Drew Hutchison?
No, I don't think
Or,
so.
or was it like Dustin McGowan or whoever it was?
No, not even them. But
I don't know. Early J Hap. I don't know. But anyway, the point was they were good and they were awful. And Gibbons was kind of roasted for it. Then 2014, I actually remember 2014 because one of my first years really following the team. They were really good. And then they didn't add at the deadline because Rogers was at that point pretty cheap. So they didn't add anything, and then they lost so many games because of their bullpen was horrible. So they lost. So they were mid in 2014. Then of course we all remember 2015. They
what
were
was their
500,
2014 record?
83 and 79
Right. Okay.
because they were shit like the last month of the year. I remember.
And then the next year they were 93 and 69. I know that
Yep,
for a fact.
they won the division, and then the year after that they regressed because their hitters went downhill, but the pitching was better. So they were 89 and 73,
Yeah.
which was coincidentally the same record the Blue Jays had last year. But I have much fonder recollections of 2016 than I did the 2023 Blue Jays.
Well, it's because they actually won a wild card and then swept the Rangers, and then the Guardian series was a little rough, but or I guess the Indians at the time, but
Yeah, that Cleveland series was awful. Because I remember Bauer bleeding everywhere, and then they brought in some bum, and we couldn't hit him at all. Ugh, horrible. And then 2017, Edwin was gone, Bautista was washed, Donaldson was
hurt.
it. Well, he was good though, because I think he had 33 home runs that year.
But he was just
I
hurt.
think he was hurt a lot. The pitching, like that was the year Aaron Sanchez's finger died, like 17
Right,
times.
yeah, I remember that.
Estrada was up and down. Hap was good, I remember. But they were just, and that was actually funny enough. That was like the year Justin Smoke was really good. So we lost Edwin, but Smoke was like a good replacement and we still sucked. So that
Was
was kind
that
of
the
funny.
Michael Saunders year, or was that the
That
2018?
was 16. That was 16.
Saunders was 16, really?
Yeah, man. Because
I thought he was
he had that,
18.
no, no, he had that great first half and there was a all-star campaign vote, right? And then he was horrible the second half and then he lost his job.
Really? I could have sworn he was 2018 and he was on the shit
No,
team.
no. He came back in 2017 as a September call-up. That might be what you're thinking of.
Can I find him on here?
Guarantee it was 2016
Okay,
because he
let's check.
He signed for the Phillies after 2016, was awful, got cut, came back to the Blue Jays on a minor league deal, and played the last month of the year with the team
Well, Score
in
didn't have it,
2017.
so that was great. My dad has got to load. Michael Saunders.
Yeah, then after 2017 was 2018, where everyone and their mother knew the team was going to be crap. They held on to Donaldson way too long. 2018 was just a nightmare. They remember Donaldson had his dead arm opening day and it was an embarrassment. And then they traded him at the absolute worst part of his value, got nothing back. And all the fun players were gone, and we were stuck watching Curtis Granderson. What a time.
Yeah, damn, he was out of the league by 2017. You're right. 2016 was the All-Star campaign and then fell
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, like it's just Gibby, like the second he lost his good players, he was done. And that's the case for every manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So his legacy is a good manager, probably a little overrated, and it should probably show you that it's about the players. It's not about the managers, really.
Yep. Agreed. And that's why the Jays sucked this year because their players were actually not that good.
Yep.
Although we will never forgive you, John Schneider, for pulling Jose Barrios last year.
Yeah, that was oh, like that burns in my memory because
We don't even need to get into that.
just quickly,
Okay.
like where's your spine as a human being? Because we all know it was the front office. Atkins can deny it all he wants. But it was them and the khaki guys, as Kevin Barker used to say. Where's your spine? Like maybe in the pregame you'd be like, oh yeah, I'll do it. Don't worry, Ross. But when Barrios is dealing and you can't score, like whatever.
Anyways,
Whatever.
I'll wrap up this episode of Flow for Sports. Next week we'll come back with probably the Atlantic, and if it's the Atlantic, we'll have a special guest. If not, it will be the Metro if our guest cannot join us. And then we will go more NFL recap, I would say. Maybe there will be a team we will want to talk about who's surprising by then. Because, week 1, everyone's shaking off the rust. Week 2, we'll see. Got to start with NBA predictions soonish, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Eventually got to get on that. Maybe just take our time with that one. And then in the MLB, we will see. Because we're getting close to end of the year, right? 3 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah, almost there. Because October's playoffs.
Yeah, finally. They just got rid of October. That one series at the beginning of October, they finally got rid of or whatever.
Yeah, I hated that.
Yeah.
I love MLB playoffs. It's so underrated.
Okay, I want to ask quickly before I feel like I've asked this to you. 1 game wild card or best 2 out of 3?
I get look, I get why people don't like the one game. 162 games shouldn't come down to one game, but God, it was so cool.
Yes, exactly.
And maybe I'd feel differently. Maybe I'd feel differently if the Blue Jays lost in 2016. But God, it's so cool.
It's sick. It really is.
Yeah, like the Edwin, like you get cool moments like the Edwin walk-off and other shenanigans that can happen in a one-game crapshoot.
There's so
Oh,
much
man.
like strategy and overthinking in it too that you have to plan for. Because like I remember that wild card against the Orioles, like the Jays on game 162 weren't in 2016, and they had to go out there and throw Estrada, I think it was, or maybe it was
I
160,
think it was Sanchez.
or maybe it was
Sanchez in
161.
Boston. It was yeah, because they made it in 162 because it was Sanchez in Boston. And that day, because of 2016, they really couldn't hit all that well. And he was dealing. He had like a no-hitter into the 7th.
No, this is
And then they
Estrada.
scored
This
like
is
3
Estrada,
runs.
100%. I remember this.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's Sanchez. I know it was Sanchez.
Can
I'm
we?
sure it was
Well,
Sanchez at
we're
Fenway.
fact checking this off air, but I'm pretty
I'm
positive.
fact checking it now. The people need to know.
Okay. I'm pretty sure this is Estrada.
Why can't I get
though.
it right now? I guarantee you it was Fenway
And
because
then
they couldn't hit.
it was Fenway. I know that. And then who'd they play or who'd they start in the game? Was it Stroman?
Wild card.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the wild card game? Yeah, it was Strom.
Okay.
And I remember that people were angry because they had all the lefties in the lineup. Baltimore and Liriano was cooking that season, and what's his name? Stroman was kind of mid. I remember people were really unhappy.
Didn't they have J Happ too?
That Yes, they did.
Because it would have
Okay,
been Liriano,
looking to in,
Happ, Stroman, Sanchez, and Estrada.
okay, silence nerd. Then okay, looking to ensure a postseason berth, the Blue Jays closed out the season by visiting the division-winning Red Sox. Blah blah blah. They lost the first game because Brett Cecil was ass. So Baltimore beat New York. Yeah, so the Jays were in the second wild card spot. The next day, Toronto defeated Boston 4-3 because of a 3 RBI night from Kevin Pillar. God, what a time to be alive. They were back into a tie because Baltimore lost to New York. Okay, so it was the season finale. In the season finale, Aaron Sanchez carried a no-hitter into the seventh inning. Gee, I'm such a genius, like my goodness. And both Devin Travis and Troy Tulowitzki contributed with 2 out hits, and the Blue Jays won 2-1. Baltimore beat New York, so they needed to win that game to keep their top wild card spot because they beat Baltimore in the season series 10-9. So it was Sanchez. God,
And then
I'm so smart.
who just missed out? Was it Seattle that year?
It might have been.
Again,
Hold on, do I have the standings?
I'm trying to picture, like, I'm trying to think because so who was in Texas, Cleveland, Boston, Jays, Orioles, and I don't think
Wild
the
card.
Yankees were
Hold on,
that
hold on,
good.
hold on.
I don't think the Yankees were that good that year.
God, the AL East sucked that year.
Or was it
Boston was the best team with 93 wins. Wild card, it was Detroit. Detroit was at 86 wins. So
Okay.
by the time that game had gone on, they had already clinched a
Right,
playoff
I remember that.
spot, I think. They just needed home field, which of
I th-
course, bottom of the ninth or bottom of the 11th or whatever it was, Edwin. So it was important.
I think by like the 6th, they had clinched or something like that.
Yeah.
They didn't know during the game. But I'm trying to. So it was Cleveland, Texas, and yeah, and then the Astros made it the next year.
Yeah, because it was Cleveland, it was Texas, Cleveland, Boston, Toronto, Baltimore,
Yeah.
and then Detroit and Seattle both had 86 wins and missed the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And then Houston was made it 2015, missed 2016, and then they won 2017, won their streak, right? All right. Now that we got cleared up, that'll wrap it up. I don't really have anything more to say. This has been already long. I got a long night of editing ish to do. Stupid Wi-Fi. Thank you for that. Got this far. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.
Bye bye.